World War II is often presented as a closed chapter, a conflict with clear dates, clear enemies, and a clear ending. But the deeper historians look, the more unstable that story becomes. Behind the famous battles and iconic photographs are decisions made in silence, lives erased without record, and moments where the future of the world turned on something as small as a single choice. These are not myths. These are facts that were buried, overlooked, or only understood decades later. And once you hear them, the war will never look the same again. But the first truth already challenges everything we were taught. Fact 1. The war began long before most people think. Most textbooks point to September 1939 as the beginning, but millions were already living through global war years earlier. In Asia, large-scale invasions had already displaced civilians, destroyed cities, and drawn in multiple nations. In Africa, colonial territories became early battlegrounds between empires. For those caught inside these regions, the war did not suddenly begin. It slowly swallowed their lives, and when Europe finally ignited, the world was already burning. But timing alone was not what shaped the war's direction. Fact 2. A single weather report changed the fate of Europe. One of the most decisive moments in the war hinged not on soldiers or generals, but on clouds and wind patterns. A massive invasion force waited, engines running, while commanders argued over a weather forecast. One prediction said delay meant disaster. Another said delay meant survival. That forecast was trusted, and history followed it. Had the weather been misread, the invasion could have collapsed before it began. Millions of lives were altered by a single decision made in a weather room. Yet many who shaped the war never held weapons at all. Fact 3. Millions fought without ever seeing the front lines. While soldiers advanced across continents, others fought a different war entirely. Factory workers raced against time. Engineers built bridges overnight. Code breakers worked in sealed rooms, never knowing if their calculations saved anyone. Supplies moved across oceans under constant threat. Entire victories depended on people whose names were never printed. They did not march. They did not fire. But without them, no army would have moved forward. Still, some of the bravest fighters were never meant to fight at all. Fact 4. Secret armies operated inside occupied nations. Across occupied Europe, invisible networks took shape. Teachers, farmers, shopkeepers, and students became messengers and saboteurs. They hid airmen in attics. They passed secrets through everyday conversations. One mistake meant arrest or worse. Many were never officially acknowledged after the war. Their names vanished with their files. But without them, entire operations would have failed from the inside. Yet danger did not only come from the enemy. Fact 5. The deadliest weapon wasn't a gun. In many regions, combat was not what killed the most people. Hunger, cold, disease, and exhaustion claimed lives quietly. Soldiers froze before reaching battle. Civilians weakened until survival became impossible. Medical supplies ran out long before compassion did. The war punished bodies long after bullets stopped flying. And for many, survival had nothing to do with courage. It came down to chance. But chance was often manipulated deliberately. Fact 6. The war was won by breaking the enemy's mind. Some of the most successful battles never happened at all. Fake armies were built from inflatable equipment. Radio operators sent false messages day and night. Entire offensives were staged to draw attention away from real targets. Commanders made decisions based on illusions. When truth finally arrived, it was already too late. The war proved that belief could be as powerful as force. Still, even victory carried an unbearable price. Fact 7. Entire cities vanished from maps. Strategic bombing reshaped geography itself. Some cities were reduced so completely they were never rebuilt. Families disappeared without graves. Streets became memory instead of location. After the war, governments quietly removed names from maps rather than reconstruct the past. These places survived only in photographs and survivor stories, and their absence changed how war would be judged forever. As the conflict dragged on, desperation grew. Fact 8. Teenagers and the elderly were forced into combat. By the final years, manpower was gone, age limits vanished. Young teenagers were handed weapons. Elderly men were pushed into uniforms they could barely carry. Training became a luxury. Survival became unlikely. These were not elite units, they were symbols of collapse, and for many, their first battle was also their last. But those who survived faced a different struggle. Fact 9. Many heroes were deeply haunted after victory. When the fighting ended, celebrations filled the streets. But inside homes, silence took over. Veterans carried memories they could not explain. Nightmares became routine. Families noticed the change, but had no words for it. At the time, trauma had no name. Many never spoke of what they saw. Victory brought safety, but not peace. And even now, the war refuses to stay in the past. Fact 10. The war never truly ended. Borders drawn during World War II still define conflicts today. Alliances formed in desperation became permanent power structures. Old decisions continue to shape modern crises. The war did not simply end. It transformed, and every generation since has lived in its shadow, whether they realize it or not. Which brings us to the final truth. Why these facts still matter. World War II is not just history. It is a warning that decisions made quietly can echo for decades. That ordinary people shape extraordinary outcomes. And that the stories we forget are often the ones we need most. The war may be over, but its lessons are still unfolding. And the question is not what happened back then. The question is what we choose to remember now.